So, the DCEU is pretty much dead, but hopefully James Gunn's new DCU is much better, but we'll just have to wait and see. But in the meantime, I would like to tell you how I would make my own DC universe if I was in charge. So the first movie of Phase 1 will be The Batman. This will be exactly the same as The Batman of last year with Robert Pattinson, directed by Matt Reeves. But I will change it up a bit. I would introduce Dick Grayson in this movie and have him become Robin. I'd also have Riddler wear a more comic accurate costume. I do like the costume he has in the movie, but I would like it to be more comic accurate. And we'll also see the death of the Flying Graysons, and we'll also see Tony Zuko, who killed the Flying Graysons, and he's going to be working for the Penguin. The rest could stay the same because the movie is perfect. So the next movie in the phase will be Superman, the Man of Tomorrow, and I would have Tyler Hoechlin play Superman. I'll admit I haven't seen Superman and Lois, so I don't really know about it, but from what I heard, he's really good as Superman, and that's a great show. So in this what if scenario, I'm imagining him as the movie Superman. The supporting cast will have Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, Jonathan Kent, and Martha Kent. And then the main villain of this movie will be Lex Luthor, but I'd have Metallo and Parasite as secondary villains. And the movie won't be an origin story. Clark Kent has been Superman for a couple years, and at the end of the movie, Superman reveals his identity to Lois Lane, and then there will be a post-credit scene that sets up Brainiac to be the main villain of the sequel. So the next movie will be Wonder Woman. In this movie, Jamie Alexander will play Wonder Woman instead of Gal Gadot, and the main villain of this movie will be Cheetah, which is Wonder Woman's arch enemy, which I don't know why they decided for the first movie to use Ares, and then the second movie they used Maxwell Lord, and Cheetah was a secondary villain. That just made no sense to me. And then the movie will follow Diana Prince leaving Themyscira to fight for the people on Earth and coming up with a new identity, Diana Prince, and she'll meet Steve Trevor, and then there will be a reference to the Justice Society, and there will be a post-credit scene that shows a fast forward to the present, so we can check in on how Diana is now. In this, Steve Trevor doesn't die in the actual movie, but in the post-credit scene we can see that he's very old now, and he's just about to die. So, the next movie will be Flash, and we'll have Lucas Till play Barry Allen because a lot of people want him to play Barry Allen. And it won't be an origin story, but we could have a brief scene in the beginning that shows Barry Allen getting struck by lightning. And in this movie, Barry Allen is already engaged to Iris West, because I don't want him meeting her for the first time and then them falling. That's gonna be kind of overdone. So I think it would be better if they're already together. I won't do that weird thing the show did where they were brother and step brother, step sister. That was weird. And also, this movie will introduce Wally West, and it'll be Barry Allen's first time meeting Wally. And the Rogues will be the main villain, and the leader of the Rogues will be Captain Cold. The other members will be Heatwave, Golden Glider, Mirror Master, and Captain Boomerang. We'll also have Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, in this movie, but only briefly, a small cameo maybe, or maybe a couple blink and you miss it scenes, and or maybe a post-credit scene. And then at the end of the movie we'll have Wally West get super speed to set him up for the sequel, have him become Kid Flash in the sequel. The next movie will be Green Lantern Emerald Dawn, and I'm kind of taking some inspiration from this YouTuber named Superframe, who had his idea for a Green Lantern Saga for the movies I'm going to be taking inspiration from them. Jensen Ackles will play Hal Jordan. The Manhunters will be the main villain, it was Super Frame's plan. And Hal and Sinestro become good friends during the course of the movie. And Despero will have a brief cameo, who I'll get to later. The post-credit scene will set up Sinestro setting up the Yellow Lantern Corps. Next movie is Aquaman, and we'll have Liam Hemsworth play Aquaman, and Black Manta will be the main villain, and Aqualad will also be in this movie, and Orm is going to be in this movie, but he's going to be in it as an ally, but at the end he starts questioning Arthur's leadership to set him up like as a villain for the sequel. The next movie is a sequel to the Batman, which is Batman and Robin. And don't get it confused with the terrible other movie called Batman and Robin. And in this movie, it'll explore the father-son relationship Batman and Robin will have. And the main villain will be Hugo Strange, played by Giancarlo Esposito. This is kind of based on Nando V Movies, a YouTuber. He had an idea for a Batman sequel with Hugo Strange, played by Giancarlo Esposito. And I think Giancarlo Esposito can do that role very well. I think Hugo Strange is a very underrated villain. So Robin will have as much screen time as Batman in this movie. Barbara Gordon will also be in this movie, and she'll become Batgirl. Clayface, Killer Croc, Man-Bat, and Professor Pig will be like side villains in the movie, and they'll be created by Hugo Strange. I want the third act to take place entirely in Arkham Asylum, since it's Hugo Strange. I'll also introduce Harvey Dent. The next movie is called Superman the Brainiac Invasion. Obviously, Brainiac will be the main villain. Kara Zor-El lands on Earth and becomes Supergirl. Martian Manhunter will also be introduced, and he'll help Superman and Supergirl fight Brainiac. We'll also see Jonathan Kent die of a heart attack. Superman will also talk to the conscience of Jor-El. Now, our final movie of the phase will be Justice League, the one all the other movies have built to. The Justice League will be Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Barry Allen Flash, Hal Jordan Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter, which is the original 7 from the comics. The main villain will be Despero, who is trying to conquer Earth. Despero is one of the oldest Justice League villains, not the first, but maybe second or third. Like I mentioned before, Despero will show up in Green Lantern as like a cameo. That cameo in Green Lantern could set him up for like this movie to be the villain. And we'll also see Snapper Carr. You don't know, he was from the first ever Justice League comic, and he was in like the early comics, and he's gonna be the one who sets the Justice League up together, like to defeat Despero. He can be kind of like the Nick Fury of this movie. At the end of the movie, they create the Hall of Justice. Heroes are gonna spend most of it in costumes. We'll rarely ever see their civilian identities, rarely ever see them unmasked. By the end of them, the heroes with secret identities will reveal it to the rest of the team, so they all trust each other. And then we'll have a post-credit scene that features Darkseid, just like how the Avengers movie had a post-credit scene with Thanos. Phase 2. So the first movie of Phase 2 will be Shazam, and it's gonna be basically the same as the Shazam movie we actually got, but I'll change it a bit. I'll have some differences. So the post-credit scene will set up Black Adam to be the main villain of the sequel, which I'm really mad how Shazam and Black Adam got made into separate franchises when Black Adam should be a part of the Shazam movies as a villain, and they made Black Adam into a hero. Don't get me started on that. And the 7 Deadly Sins will be more comic accurate, and they wouldn't be like these gray, boring villains. And instead of Billy giving his powers to his entire family, he only gives it to Freddy and Mary. I think I'll change the ages of the Shazam family. Like, I'd make them younger, and played by younger actors. I get why they made Billy 14 instead of like 10 like he is in the comics, because like they didn't want to hire younger actors because younger actors usually are terrible, and also because it's kind of not a good thing to get kids that young into like these movies. The Superman cameo in the end, it will actually show his face, and it'll be like played by Tyler Hoechlin. So the next movie will be Wonder Woman Paradise Lost. So Donna Troy will be introduced in this movie as Wonder Girl. Circe or Cirque or Circe will be the main villain. Hawk Girl, aka Shia Hole, would also be introduced. The movie is going to be about Circe destroying Themyscira while Wonder Woman was gone, and Wonder Woman and Wonder Girl have to protect it now. And Steve Trevor is going to be old and he's dying. And Circe will also turn Doris Zool into Giganta, and Wonder Woman and Wonder Girl have to fight her. So the next movie is Green Arrow, and we'll have Austin Butler play Green Lantern, and Black Canary will be in the movie as a love interest. Oliver Queen will meet Roy Harper, who becomes Speedy in the movie. We'll also see some of Oliver Queen's time on Starfish Island and see what he learned there and why he wants to become Green Arrow now. The main villain of this movie will be Malcolm Merlyn. We'll also get like a Hal Jordan cameo because Hal Jordan and Oliver Queen are good friends in the comics. So the next movie is Flash 2. Wally West will become Kid Flash in this movie. Reverse Flash will be the main villain. Barry and Iris get married in this movie, and Barry finds out about Eobard Thawne and like how he's from the future and how he's obsessed with him and has gone back in time to ruin his life. Barry would also learn how to time travel in this movie, and I also have brief appearances from each of the rogues, maybe not all of them. So the next movie is Green Lantern Sinestro Corps War. Well, in this movie, we'll introduce Jon Stewart into the movie because I think, yeah, they obviously should have to introduce him in the sequel. It'll be kind of like a buddy cop movie with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. The main villain of this movie will obviously be Sinestro. We'll have Hal Jordan's ex-girlfriend Carol Ferris become the Star Sapphire, and a lot of this movie is going to deal with Hal and Jon having to work together and Hal having to be like a mentor kind of to Jon. They don't like each other at first, but they learn to like become friends. Sinestro, he creates the Sinestro Corps after he disagrees with, after he's been like disagreeing and like fighting with the Guardians of the Universe. And we also learn that the Guardians of the Universe are pretty corrupt themselves. So the whole movie, the Sinestro Corps goes to war with the Green Lantern Corps. And I also want to have a like little reference to Guy Gardner, like Hal can mention him, because for those of you who don't know, Guy Gardner actually was introduced before Jon Stewart, which, you know, it blew my mind. But so yeah, I can have him be mentioned, but he won't show up at all in the movie. We can just say he got the ring and like Hal thought he was a jerk and like, you know, he went off doing some other thing somewhere else. So the next movie will be Batman Heart of Ice, and we'll obviously have Mr. Freeze as the villain. It's going to be loosely based on the Batman the Animated Series episode, which is really good. Batman will see Mr. Freeze's wife suffering from her illness. Bruce Wayne helps people with similar illnesses using his money. Now, Bruce and Dick, they have kind of an argument on how they deal with Mr. Freeze, so they'll kind of be drifting apart. We can also introduce Jason Todd. We can kind of start up like spark a romance between Dick and Barbara like in the comics, and at the end Dick leaves Gotham. Mr. Freeze in the movie has to work with Penguin to save his wife. In the post-credits scene we'll have Harvey Dent become Two-Face. So the next movie is Aquaman War on Atlantis. So the main villain of this movie will be Orm, and it'll be about Orm challenging Arthur to the throne. So kind of like the actual Aquaman movie we got. And it'll be revealed that Black Manta has been locked in an Atlantean prison, and we can see him like as a prisoner there. And Orm, he beats Aquaman and becomes king of Atlantis. We see how much of like a dictator he is. At the end of the movie, Aquaman defeats Orm and becomes king once again and decides he wants to help Atlantis. He wants to use Atlantis to help the land-dwelling people. And we'll have a post-credit scene that shows Lex Luthor breaking Black Manta out of prison and recruiting him to the Legion of Doom. Next movie is Superman, Last Son of Krypton. In this movie, Lex Luthor will create Bizarro to fight Superman, and Bizarro could kind of be like the main villain of the movie. We'll also introduce Steel, and in this movie we'll have Lex Luthor be in his power suit to fight Superman. And we can also introduce Crypto, and we'll have a post-credit scene that shows Superboy. Next movie will be Teen Titans, and this team will consist of Robin, Speedy, Wonder Girl, Aqualad, Kid Flash, Beast Boy, and Raven. The main villain of this movie will be Brother Blood, and I want Ravager, aka Grant Wilson, to be like a secondary villain. So this movie will also pick up after Dick leaves Gotham at the end of Batman Heart of Ice. And we'll have a mid-credit scene that sets up Deathstroke, and we'll have a post-credit scene that will show Dick Grayson becoming Nightwing. Now, the last movie of this phase will be Justice League Tower of Babel, and the Justice League will consist of like the same, like the main 7 members of like the first movie, but we'll add also Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Hawkgirl to the team. And the villains of this movie will be the Legion of Doom, and it'll consist of Lex Luthor, Joker, Giganta, Reverse Flash, Sinestro, Black Manta, Clock King, Shadow Thief, and Malefic. So in this movie, Batman's records, which include all the Justice League members' weaknesses, gets hacked, like how in the Tower of Babel's story, and it gets sold to Lex Luthor. Half of the Justice League will be mad at Batman for having records on how to defeat him, and the ones who are mad are Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Aquaman, while Superman, Flash, and Martian Manhunter are like more easy on him. And Jon Stewart will show up to help out the Justice League in the third act, but he's not a part of the team yet. And also, in this movie, the Legion of Doom, they have a mother box that they use to find Doomsday, and then they use Doomsday to fight the Justice League in the third act. And then at the end of the movie, Superman sacrifices himself to beat Doomsday, and the movie will end with his funeral. Now, I also would like to have there be TV shows in this phase, like kind of like how, you know, Marvel had like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then they had like the Netflix shows like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and that stuff. So yeah, these will be connected to the movies, but they're not going to be like necessary like to like watch, like to understand the movies. So the first show will be Blue Beetle, and this was about Ted Kord Blue Beetle, and I would also like it to feature some of the other Charlton characters like The Question, Captain Atom, and maybe like Nightshade. Next show will be Booster Gold, which be about Booster Gold, obviously. And I'd also like to have those two shows have a crossover called Blue and Gold, like the comic Blue and Gold. Like they'll have crossovers, and then they'll have like kind of like a special like presentation or like TV movie of like Blue and Gold, which will be interesting. And also a Swamp Thing show, because Swamp Thing's like cool. Also a Vixen show as well. Phase 3. The first movie of Phase 3 will be New Gods, and the main characters of this movie will be Orion, Light Ray, Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, Metron, Black Racer, Forager, and Highfather. The movie will be about Orion leaving New Genesis to go on a quest to Apocalypse to defeat Darkseid, and other New Genesis residents follow Orion, including Light Ray, Forager, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda. Orion and Light Ray in this movie have known each other for a long time, and they have kind of like a brotherly relationship. Light Ray is like Orion's younger brother, kind of. Orion will meet Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, who are like married. Orion doesn't know if he can trust them, but he becomes friends with them throughout the movie. And the main villain of this movie will be Calabac, who is sent by Darkseid to fight Orion. And Orion learns the truth that Darkseid is actually his father, and he's distraught by this. Orion beats and kills Calabac, but Darkseid gets away. So the next movie in the phase will be Shazam! Battle of the Champions, and we will have Black Adam as the main villain. A Shazam versus Black Adam movie, which is what DC should have done instead of like Superman versus Black Adam and giving them okay, I don't want to get mad, but like it's just and then in the end of this movie, Billy will give the rest of the Shazam family his powers, and Dr. Savannah is going to be the one who like awakens Black Adam from like his imprisonment, and Black Adam wants revenge against Billy for taking his place as the new champion. And in this movie, Black Adam will kill the Shazam wizard, but Billy will beat Black Adam by tricking him into saying Shazam. I don't know how he'll do it, but he'll just do it. And then when he says it, he like dies. The next movie will be Wonder Woman, Gods and Mortals. Ares will be the main villain of this movie, which what they should have done in the movies was set up Ares for like the third movie and not have him like be the villain right away. So this movie will also introduce Nubia and Artemis. Zeus will also appear in this movie to fight Ares, but Ares wins and kills Zeus. This movie will end with Themyscira being open to the public. The person who summons Ares is Felix Faust, kind of like how in Justice League the animated series Felix Faust summoned Hades, but instead I'm replacing it with Ares and in the movie I'm going to do something different from the comics where Ares is actually going to be revealed to Wonder Woman's father. I know that's like, it's usually Zeus or like Man out of Clay or whatever, but I think this will be a good like, subversion. And we'll have a post-credit scene where Hippolyta, or whatever Wonder Woman's mom's name is, gives Diana a mother box to protect. Next movie is going to be Nightwing, and it'll take place directly where Teen Titans left off, and Dick Grayson moves to Bloodhaven after quitting being Robin and now taking on the role of Nightwing. Blockbuster will be the main villain, while Lady Vic, Brutal, and the Electrocutioner and Twerk will be side villains. And Huntress will be in the movie as Dick's love interest, and she'll help him take down Blockbuster. This movie will also have many flashbacks of Dick Grayson as Robin, and also Batman, Alfred, Jason Todd, and Barbara Gordon will have brief appearances, while Batman will have like more appearances out of all of them, but like they'll still not have, each of them won't have that much time in it. And then at the end of the movie, Batman visits Nightwing and they have kind of like a heartfelt talk. And then we'll have a post-credit scene with Deathstroke. Next movie is Green Arrow and Black Canary. Green Arrow and Black Canary's romance will be an important part of the movie. Black Canary will have as much screen time as Green Arrow. Count Vertigo will be the main villain, and he'll be allied by the Longbow Hunters who work for him, and he's going to use the Longbow Hunters to kill Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Speedy. The movie will also introduce John Diggle, Henry Fife, and Emoko Queen. Next movie is Flash 3. So the main villain of this movie will be Grodd. The Thinker will also be joined as like a secondary villain working for Grodd, and Wally, he's much faster in this movie, but he still doesn't understand how to use his powers. In this movie, Barry Allen is now more level-headed and confident. We'll also introduce Jay Garrick in this movie, and it'll be revealed that Barry and Iris now have kids. And we'll also introduce Ray Palmer, aka the Atom, as a scientist at Star Labs. Next movie is Supergirl. Movie will pick up after Superman's death at the end of Tower of Babel. The movie is about Supergirl moving to National City and trying to learn how to fight crime without her cousin. Superman will appear in this movie as Flash in flashbacks. Silver Banshee will be the main villain, and Lois Lane, Martha Kent, and Jimmy Olsen will have cameos in the movie. Next movie is Green Lantern Rage of the Red Lanterns. Atrocitus will be the main villain of the movie. Guy Gardner and Alan Scott will be introduced, and we get to learn about the Blue Lantern Corps and the Red Lantern Corps. Atrocitus and the Red Lantern Corps want revenge on the Green Lantern Corps. Sinestro will also have a brief appearance, and then the post-credit scene will set up we'll have Jon Stewart joining the Justice League. This next movie will be Batman the Man Who Laughs. Joker will be the main villain, and in this movie he kills Jason Todd and shoots Barbara Gordon. In this movie, Nightwing will come back to Gotham to team up with Batman to stop the Joker. Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Mad Hatter, Victor Zsasz, and Scarecrow will be secondary villains working for the Joker. We learn more about Batman's complicated relationship with the Joker, and we'll also get a flashback of the first time Batman arrested Joker, and we'll also see Joker break Riddler out of Arkham Asylum. The next movie will be Aquaman Drowned Earth, and the main villain of this movie will be Triton, and this movie will also introduce Cal Durham, the Aqualad from Young Justice. Aquaman will have his hand cut off by Triton, and it'll be replaced with a hook like what happened in the 90s. Triton will kill Garth, so Cal Durham will become the new Aqualad, and Triton will send the Trench to attack Aquaman. The next movie is The Return of Superman. In this movie, Superman comes back from the dead. Supergirl comes back to Metropolis. The main villain of this movie is General Zod, and the movie will be about General Zod, Faora, and Non escaping the Phantom Zone to get revenge on Superman. Revenge on Superman for what Jor-El did to them. And Superman, Supergirl, Superboy, Steel, and Krypto team up against Zod and the other evil Kryptonians. Next movie is Teen Titans: The Judas Contract. The team will consist of Nightwing, Wonder Woman, Kid Flash, Speedy, Raven, Beast Boy, Cyborg, Bumblebee, Aqualad, Cal Durham, Aqualad, and Jericho. Deathstroke will be the main villain of this movie, and he'll use Terra to infiltrate the Teen Titans. The movie will also deal with the team mourning Garth's death that happened in Aquaman Drowned Earth. Deathstroke is going to almost beat Nightwing to death. Barbara Gordon will also work for the Teen Titans. Now she is Oracle. Now she'll work for the Teen Titans as Oracle. Next movie will be Justice League: The Darkseid War. And Darkseid will obviously be the main villain, and the movie will be about Darkseid searching for the anti-life equation, and the Justice League has to stop with them. And we'll have many members of the Justice League. We'll also have Darkseid's Elite that has Desaad, Granny Goodness, Kanto, Mantis, Vermin Vundabar, Steppenwolf, and Kalibak, who Darkseid revived. And at the end of the movie, Darkseid learns the anti-life equation, and he wins basically, and every sentient being on Earth becomes his slave. Martian Manhunter uses telepathy to shield the minds of some heroes from being under Darkseid's control. So, the next movie is Green Lantern Agent Orange. In this movie, Kyle Rayner will be introduced, Larfleeze will be the main villain, the Indigo Tribe will be introduced. Movie will take place during the same time as Justice League: The Darkseid War, which is why Hal Jordan is not in that movie and why Jon Stewart isn't in this movie. And movie will take place entirely in space, and the only planets visited in the movie are Oa, Okara, Vega, and Nock, with only a brief scene with Kyle on Earth getting recruited to the Green Lantern Corps. Post-credit scene has some Green Lantern Corps members getting taken over by the anti-life equation, and Martian Manhunter and Jon Stewart show up to tell Hal Jordan what's going on. So the next movie is Plastic Man. So the next movie, it's gonna be a little fun one because the last movies were kind of downer. This is a more like comedic one, and so this I want this movie to be entirely animated because I think this character works better animated, and it'll obviously be a comedy because you're not gonna make Plastic Man dark and serious. And I also want this movie to. I know this might sound a bit out of line, but I kind of want this movie to be rated R. I know that would be weird, but you can do a lot with like these kind of powers and like R-rated. And Plastic Man isn't such an innocent guy, so it could work. So the final movie of Phase 3 is Justice League Final Crisis. And it takes place directly after Justice League The Darkseid War. And we'll have the remaining heroes, which is gonna be like the original seven and some newer members. And in this movie, Barry Allen will try to go back in time to stop Darkseid from getting the anti-life equation. And the remaining heroes will have to fight the brainwashed heroes, but they have to try to keep him alive. And Barry Allen will die in this movie, setting up Wally West to become like the new Flash. And at the end of the movie, the heroes will finally defeat Darkseid. And so for TV shows, we'll have the Question TV shows because he's an interesting character, and it'll kind of be like a spin-off of Blue Beetle since he was in Blue Beetle. Next show is going to be Lobo because Lobo's a cool character. Next show will be Constantine, which will be a spin-off of Swamp Thing, and a lot of people like Constantine, so yeah, that'll be interesting. Another movie will be Strange Adventures about Adam Strange. The other TV show will be Huntress, which is a spin-off of Nightwing. And the show could be about like Huntress and like Bloodhaven, like while Nightwing has gone back to Gotham. Alright, so that was the end of Phase 3 of my DC Cinematic Universe. Thank you all for watching, and I'm really tired right now, and I have not planned out Phase 4 or like any other phases, and I don't know if I'm going to, maybe in the future. Well, goodbye.